The Filmmakers Podcast exists thanks to your support. If you'd like to ensure that we can keep on exploring the filmmaking world with you, subscribe to our Patreon.
The Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 270 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up. In our very, very humble opinion, I am Giles Alderson and I am delighted to welcome on this week's show Chloe Chudasama and Leroy Kincaide. I have wanted these guys on the podcast for, it must be about a year now, and we're waiting for The Last Rite to come out. So we actually recorded this late last year, but everything is relevant. Everything is perfect for you as indie filmmakers to go out there and make your film right now, because they did exactly that. The Last Rite is an absolute delight. I saw it at Fright Fest. It is out now on Sky TV, on Amazon or Prime, and Rakuten, on all of the digital platforms as well. You can find it. The Last Rite, link to it will be in the show notes. So, are you, listener, amazing person that you are you willing to spend 2 to 3 years making your feature film? Are you? Because sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes it takes more time than that. I've got a friend who's been making a film for 20 years. In the meantime, they'll be making other films, but that film will come out one day. I'm pretty sure of it, because it's a passion project. And sometimes it takes a long time, but are you prepared to do it? On this week's show with Chloe and Leroy, we dive into that. We talk about the preparation of that. How knowing going into it, it is going to take time. Why you need to invest in yourselves. And why Chloe quit doing her events just to make The Last Rite, and why you have to go all or nothing when you're making your indie film. And we also discuss why shooting the movie himself for Leroy was so important. We also talk about why they only had a small crew of 4 and why it's so important to not scrimp on props or locations or casting, and the importance of being prepared mentally. Chloe also discusses the difficulties as a producer on an indie film, and of course, we dive into sales and distribution and how they got their little indie film on Sky Movies, how they got people raving about it, how it was the talk of Fright Fest. Oh yeah, you're in for an absolute treat this week, as always. To be fair, it's so nice that I get so much feedback from people saying how much they love the show. It really is a joy, because it means we're on the right path. We're doing something right. Oh, and don't forget to join our Patreon. I say it every week, and Toby made a brilliant comment. He said, it's a bit vague. I went, all right. And he wrote a little list. So, our Patreon includes, this is just this week's, by the way, we have so much bonus content on there. This week's is finding the balance of making a living and being creative. You want to know that? Get on there now. What about leveling up your skills as a DOP? That's on there too. Or working as a director and DOP at the same time on set. That's some of our bonus content this week. Like I say, there is so much more on there. If you love this, don't forget to tell your pals, but also you love it even more and want more in your life right now, go to patreon.com/filmmakers podcast. Link to that is in the show notes. It really is worth it. It really is. And it helps us. It really does help us grow. A couple of weeks ago, we had Dustin Murphy hosting this podcast with myself and Jennifer Sheridan under the spotlight. And what a great host he was, because that was live from Kino. And Kino is having its People's Film Festival right now. We've been shouting about this on Twitter, but it's happening April the 2nd to the 9th, which is now 2022. But if you're listening to this in the future, you've missed it. But if you haven't, it's a live event and it's streaming online. Head down, chat to indie filmmakers, chat to short filmmakers, chat to other people who are making films or want to make films like yourself. Be brave. Open up your heart, open up your mind, and just go there. And I know it's difficult. It's really difficult to just go, hi, I'm a filmmaker too, but sod it. If that's what you want to do, sometimes you have to go beyond your comfort zone and do it. So that's the People's Film Festival. Link to that is in the show notes. And also our fantastic fellow host Dom Lemoire's film, When the Screaming Starts is playing at the London Independent Film Festival this Sunday, the 10th of April, which is a couple of days after the People's Film Festival finishes, so you can do them all. It's at 6 p.m. at Genesis Cinema in Hackney in London, and the link to that is in the show notes as well. But if not, just go to the Genesis Cinema website, book tickets. Again, I saw this at Fright Fest, thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Conor Burrow has done a brilliant job of directing. Dom Lamar, as always, has done an amazing job of producing, and the acting is superb. So do get down and watch that. We will have Conor on a future episode when the film is ready to be released. Speaking of amazing performances, The Last Rite will blow you away. Bethan Waller is brilliant in this film. She's an absolute find. Also starring Johnny Fleming, Tara Hoyas Martinez, Kit Smith, Ian McNaughton, Deborah Blake, David Kerr, Hella Stitch Lemaire, and Joe James, just to name a few. It really is worth your time. Seek it out. It's on Sky Movies now. What are you waiting for? Listen to this podcast, go watch the movie tonight. Why not? Support, support, support. There we go. So much information for you on this week's episode. You have no excuses. I'm booking my Cannes Film Festival trip right now. Are you? Are you doing the same? It's really a place you need to go as an indie filmmaker. You definitely get to chat to filmmakers. You definitely see what the market is all about. And then you realise you are one in 1,000. Maybe 1 in a million of filmmakers of films that all potentially look like yours, that are just another poster, just another trailer. And it's so important to get that right. So important that you think about your marketing and who your audience is before you make your film. Anyway, I'll be at Cannes, so maybe I'll see you there. I think I'm doing some talks and events, so do come along. I'll let you know if they're happening. But this week, I have delivered Wolves of War, my World War II film. Very excited by that. It stars Ed Westwick, Rupert Graves, Sam Gittings, Matt Willis, Anastasia Martin, Max Hildebrand. The list goes on. And do you know what? My post crew were incredible. It was so tough to deliver. There were so many issues, problems, trying to do it all socially distanced on Zoom, etc., etc. But we did, and it has been delivered. That is super exciting. We've also now got all the final shots in for 3-Day Millionaire. We popped up to Grimsby a couple of days ago to get the last shot. That feels great. Now we're in the final stages of the edit. Should be picture locked soon. Exciting. Right, let's get to that. It's boring. That's my news. You can't answer back, so you have to listen to this. You could skip, but why would you? Okay, here it is. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Filmmakers podcast with the fantastic Leroy Kincaide, who is in Wolves of War, by the way, and the rather lovely Chloe Chudasama. Enjoy. Hello. So thank you, Chloe Leroy, for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure. Obviously, we've been chatting various events and Clubhouse, and Leroy, you came and did a bit for me in Wolves of War as well. You know, so it's been really nice, weirdly over lockdown, to sort of connect with more filmmakers. I've really enjoyed that, and it's been a real joy to meet you two. And then obviously I came to see The Last Rite at Fright Fest, where it had its world premiere, and I was blown away. It's incredible, and it's your debut movie, and I was just like we've got to chat on the podcast and get you guys on and talk. Maybe let's tell our listeners what The Last Rite is about, and then we'll dive into that.
So basically, The Last Rite is a supernatural horror that sits, I guess, between the worlds of Exorcism of Emily Rose meets Amityville horror. Mm-hmm. So it takes a little bit of a look, or an introspective look at sleep paralysis and somebody who's experiencing that and their life and how it's changed therein after the fact. Without giving too much of the plot away, it's just basically one of those films that, for me as a filmmaker, like, it speaks to my heartstrings of, let's say, the genre that I love. Like, so I love the 80s style horror. I love films that sit a little bit more of a slower burn, telling the story through characters and juxtapositions of things that don't normally get seen. But ultimately, The Last Rite is, if you're a fan of that type of genre, you're a fan of Amityville horror, fan of exorcism films, Last Rite's for you.
Love it. Great. It really is. It's that, I think it just takes you into that old school world, but also it's got a real modern twist. As much as you love those type movies, and I agree, it's fantastic. But what I think was clever about what you guys did was you really took inspiration from there, but you brought it into the modern world, and you brought its own unique look and feel to it, and it's stunning and it's striking, and I think that's testament to you guys. So how did it come about? Why did you want to make a movie like this in the first place? What was it that drew you to this concept to be your debut movie?
So when did I come up with the idea? I was in Colombia at the time doing some bit of stunt work on Jack Ryan.
In Colombia?
Yeah,
cool.
I was in Colombia.
All
so,
right.
as you do, I'm just in the hotel, and all that. And it's really weird how it came about, because I had a random vision of a man stood in a fedora hat at the top of the stairs in like a silhouette. I had like no idea that it was going to lead on to me writing a film. But I'm one of those people that I sit with an idea or a concept or something, and I see if it keeps tickling me to sort of go, oh, will I explore this realm a bit more, or do I leave it? So I kept seeing this idea, and I was like, vision, shall I say, of a guy on the stairs. And I was like, okay, let me dig into this a little bit deeper. So I also had episodes of sleep paralysis as a child. So I used to experience things which are very similar to what lots of people report, seeing someone in a room, running around doing whatever they were doing, just sort of terrorizing you in the state of paralysis and sleep. So I was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take parts of my experience, parts of research that I've done on experiences, put that into a story, and then create a character in that world. So it's it's inspired by true events, let's say, but not a true story. But ultimately, the story came together 2018, had the script finalized early 2019, and then we started filming in September 2019?
August, September.
September.
And during that time, Chloe, was this always something that you were going, look, I'm going to produce this with you, we're going to get this made? What was because you two are a couple, can you remember that conversation where you said, look, we're going to do something, I'd like to work together with each other? Talk us through that, because it is difficult for couples to work together, but also magical at the same time, because you know each other and you can work well together.
Yeah, so I mean, my background was very much not the film industry at all. So a lot of my backgrounds come from live events. So I've always worked in events. I've done a lot of press stunts, award shows, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my experience. I've never thought about the film industry, never had, any inkling to really get into the industry. But it was, a few years ago, what was it, about 6 or 7 years ago, we started doing short films. So Leroy wanted to do short films, mainly to start getting more work as an actor, because he was getting quite typecast with certain roles. So he kind of embarked on doing shorts, and I was like, well, okay, I know how to budget, I know how to schedule from my job. So I thought, I just help out and just help him do short films. But at the time I was like, oh, actually, maybe this is what producing is, not really realizing that's what I was doing. So my journey kind of started really from those short films. And then it was kind of after we'd done our third short film, which was a fan film, Max Payne Retribution. We kind of sat down and had a conversation about, is it something I want to do, and take it forward and become more invested in the role and take it further and take the company further that Leroy set up. So that's kind of where I got involved and started. And then I was like, actually, I really love the film industry, and I've sort of starting to understand what producing is and the different roles. So really from that until we started doing The Last Rite, it was kind of a progression from there that I was like, right, we want to do a feature film. And together we both want to take our production company further. And that's kind of how it kind of come about, really. It wasn't really a typical producing role, as in I'm going to, do this thing for you, or find, IP and stuff. It was more of a together thing.
So it happened organically, I suppose, then, just by let's work together on the shorts, and then suddenly it was like, well, why not take this further?
And also, when I was in the Colombia process and was thinking of this idea, I was like, for the first time in a while, I'm all of a sudden going to get an injection of money. So I thought, well, shall we just go for it? And we had a conversation while I was in Colombia. I was like, okay, so what would be the stages? What do we need to do? How do we need to get this off the ground? And it was just a case of right, well, I'm going to have this amount to put in. Chloe did exactly the same, even though she put a bit more in. And we just basically come together. We invested in some equipment when I came back, got a camera, got some other bits. And then it all started from that, really. And it was just an accumulation process after.
I love that the fact that you went, look, we want to make a film. We can do this. Like you say, you've come into some money. You were like, well, actually, I'd rather put this into a place of making a movie. Talk us through the mindset of that, because people can get frightened by putting money into their own films. They can get frightened of, I want to survive. I would rather buy a house, a car, a nice thing. And obviously that stops you making the films. And what you guys have done is gone, don't care. I want to make films, so therefore let's take the risk. Can you remember your mind process of that? And, you know, was it like, did you put all of it in? You know, did you get a lump sum that was kind of like, oh, it's all right because I could survive another way? It'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I suppose that from my point of view, you know, we did speak to a few investors beforehand, but it was kind of the typical thing that every filmmaker hears is like, well, you haven't done a feature film, so how do we know we can invest in you and trust in what we're doing?
Sadly.
Yeah, which is a bit of a pain, but, you know, I can kind of see it when it's a much bigger beast doing a feature film. But yeah, from my point of view, it was, you know, it was at that point where, you know, we'd done the short films. We were like, okay, do we really want to take this seriously? And, you know, do we really want to grow what we're doing together in our company? So if we do, then we need to just go all in, not wait for anyone else, and just, you know, we need to have skin in the game as well. So it was for me, it was like the best decision we could have done. So basically, I worked full time for a sport and entertainment company, which I'd been there for about 7 years, pretty good job doing events.
Nice.
And I quit that job to basically do The Last Rite, and then went freelance. Yeah. So I'm not sure I'd recommend it to everybody, but if you're in the right situation, then to me it was, you know, the perfect opportunity. So I kind of like worked my ass off as a freelance in the events world, you know, tried to bank up as much money as possible while having enough to live on. And then obviously Leroy had some money from what he was doing, and it was we kind of just went all in on it, didn't we? And it was like, you know, it was now or never really. And we want to get in the industry properly.
Yeah, well, you know, for myself, it was an all or nothing thing, like Chloe, to be fair. And the thing which I knew going in was that, like, we've got the money to do this much. Yeah. But this much is going to be, that means I'm going to need to obviously edit. I'm going to need to shoot it. I'm going to need to light it. I'm going to need to... anything that's post-production, pretty much, apart from some sound design, even though I had a little dabble at some of that, was going to be the time investment from my side to make sure that happens, because a lot of the money that we had was literally to just put onto the screen, you know, so it wasn't like thinking about post-production and stuff afterwards. It wasn't too much there for that. So it was a case of like, well, if we're going to make it work, we go all in, we make it work, and we fail our way forward, or we succeed moving forward. We do one of the two. You know, thankfully, you know, we're on the process of having
succeeding forward. 100% you are.
Success story forward, which is cool. But you know, like let's not kid anyone. It took a lot of fucking work, and that was the key. The most important thing was not necessarily about the money. It was about, are we willing to put a year, 2 years, 3 years, or basically whatever it needs into this window of opportunity now? Because it was a window of opportunity, because for a long time when you're an aspiring filmmaker, an aspiring actor, an aspiring anything, you're not really earning money. Like, you know, let's just be real about that. We're not earning money. So therefore, your aim is to get into a position so you can earn the money to do bigger and better things and move forward. So this was the first job when I got in Colombia where I was able to bank up a tiny bit of money, which meant I had an amount that I could just go, I'd just chuck it in and forget I even had it.
Right.
And that was basically what we went with. So we did that. Chloe had some, we invested in camera equipment and that. I knew also that I needed to do some brushing up on like my talent, so like upskilling, because obviously where the undertaking of it was not just to direct it, I had to shoot it as well. So I had to up my levels a little bit on the cinematography and lighting aspect get the mindset of a DOP. But thankfully that has paid off in terms of, for me as a director, like massively.
How? Tell us why.
So the key thing for me as a director, what that has given me is it's given me the ideal aesthetic to my version of what I would create in the mise en scène of a film. So not just like obviously sound design being part of that, which is important because I did that with the edit, but from the cinematography side of it, it's like the composition. It's about the lenses. It's about the lens choices because, you know, why would I go with a vintage lens versus a new lens? We did partner, talking of lenses, we did partner with Zine lenses, the Samyang company. So we partnered with them and they gave us like a full set of like Zine lenses just before the Zine CFs come out, which was like amazing.
How did you partner up with them? Did you just email? Did you collaborate?
Yeah, I spoke to, I think it was the lead sponsorship lady at Samyang, and I just messaged them saying, you know, we're doing this film, we're up and coming filmmakers, you know, we've bought this camera and we'd love to partner with them and obviously offer them some behind the scenes footage of their lenses and things. Yeah, literally they called me back and we're just talking about what we're shooting and what we're doing, and it was quite easy actually, and they seemed interested in what we were doing, and that we were kind of grassroots DIY, you know, kind of trying to make stuff happen. And then they just were like, yeah, you can have it for this length of time, and as long as you get us some content of it and showing of it, then it's done.
See, isn't that brilliant? It's sometimes just asking the question. You've got nothing to lose. Hey, you can get a contact for Samyang. Here you go. We're doing this. Can you help us? The amount of times I've heard indie filmmakers say that has worked. If you're not a dick about it, you're nice about it, of course they're going to pay you interest because you could be the next whatever, but also because they want to help indie filmmakers. At that point, Chloe, are you now going, okay, well, I'm budgeting the whole thing. This is how much it'll cost, locations. Were you already starting to move forward with that? And if not, tell us how that happened.
Well, I suppose it was a backwards process compared to what you would normally do for a budget. You'd normally obviously break down the script and then work out how much it's going to cost, but we only had a certain amount that we had, so it was kind of like, well, this is what we've got, let's try and allocate it in the right way in terms of like, you know, locations, cast, crew, which there really wasn't a lot of crew.
How many crew did you have in the end?
Apart from us two others.
Two others.
Amazing. So you're doing everything.
So literally everything.
Small crew of four of you.
Four. And there was occasional three.
Yeah.
Because you must have had a sound guy or girl, right?
Yeah, sound guy.
Sound was one of those.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Making a film with four people is so hard. And the fact that you've got an incredible film at the end of it is hugely impressive. It's hugely impressive. So you're now at this point where you're going, okay, so you're working out how to do this. Are you thinking we're going to film in your own house or houses at this point? Was this something that was on the cards to make things cheaper?
No. So we was at the point where, right, okay, we've got this amount of money. We know how much we've got to spend. What we wanted to do was obviously put more money on screen. So the first thing that I was looking at was locations. So I kind of, navigated the whole indie filmmaker based in Kent, which isn't, I don't know if there's many, but especially where we are, we kind of used that as kind of an angle for a lot of our locations.
Okay.
So I just started with finding the house location and all we've got about 14 locations in total, which were all shot in Kent. So it was kind of just using knowledge of the area, saying we're local filmmakers, this is what we're doing. Pretty much most of them we did pay for. There was a couple that we didn't, that we had some lovely owners who let us have the locations for free, but the majority of them we paid for. So that's kind of how I started. And then, we found obviously Jonathan Ito, our incredible sound recordist, who was absolutely amazing. So he was pretty much our sole only other crew apart from makeup. Yeah, and then I kind of just worked from then. I just literally had to really be excessively resourceful with what we could do, because what we didn't want to do is scrimp on locations, props, and obviously cast, because if we're going to do it independently, we need to make sure it's executed to the highest level, amazing actors, and it's something that people can watch and buy into, and it really sells the film. So that's kind of how I started. And obviously with catering, I did, which I don't think I'll ever do that again. So a lot of things.
Oh, I've got sandwiches again. Yay. Oh, we got cereal again. Cereal for dinner.
Things like that I did. My background before events and film was fashion photography. So that kind of came in handy. So I did all the stills and I did the poster.
The poster is amazing. You designed the poster?
Yeah, I did that. Just through budget.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, so for any producers out there, learn Photoshop 'cause it's really bloody handy for posters and social media stuff.
Yeah, it is, because you do have to do your own. Even if you do have a distributor, a sales agent on board, which you do, you still end up doing it yourself anyway, because you love your film so much, you want to push more and you want to put more out there, and you can't rely on anyone necessarily in this business to do everything that you care about your film. You have to do it yourselves. So, okay, this is even better. So it's just the 4 of you on set, and most of the time 3 of you, and you're doing everything into food, and you've got quite a few decent amount of actors in there as well. It's not like you've just, there's a lot of the time it's just 2 people, but at the same time, no, there's more, there's 3 or 4, there's a big old cast here, it's considering it's just you guys in the house. And like you say, there's 14 locations. So there's a lot of moving and location, logistics to do with all that as well. I was amazed when you said you'd also shot the movie as well. It was like, okay, that's really impressive. What did you learn during that time then? What's the key things you think you learnt that you could maybe put into small sentences for our listeners out there?
The key really is to be prepared mentally and to ask yourself, like, take yourself into a dark corner of a room on your own. Like, you cannot be influenced by what other people are going to tell you. You have to ask yourself, how far am I willing to go in this process? Am I all in, or am I quarter in with a quarter out, and then the rest is floating around somewhere else? Because there's a bit of an allure to the industry. A lot of people get starry eyes and they love what the end result is. But you've got to bleed massively for the craft to get your idea and vision across the line. However you see it, whether you're a DOP, whether you're a writer, whether you're a director, whatever you're doing, even if you're a cast, we're all bringing something to the table. But you've got to ask yourself, like, am I willing to go through hell to make it work? Because the key is, it's not easy. Like, anybody that says it's easy is completely lying. Like, I understand that, like, things come easier to some people, but the key is just knowing in yourself that, like, you ultimately will have everything around you that you need, but you just have to dig a little deeper to find the ingredients to the cake that you're baking. Because a lot of the time we as a population of people are always looking outside of ourselves to find approval from other people, or approval from a social society or collective, to be able to say that we can do it. And the key is just to know that you can do it. You have to develop the ability to do it. I understand that. But if you're willing to go through the process, then everything is possible. I myself definitely had some nudges from people, from people in certain circles that were like, you don't really want to film it. No, you don't really want to do editing with it as well. You shouldn't this, you shouldn't that, blah, 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 blah. And, I very much in a mindset, right? And a mindset is the key antithesis of the get you to where you want to go. If you're not willing to do what is needed and you're easily influenced, unfortunately, you're not going to do it. You'll struggle. You'll have issues. You'll have problems. But sometimes you can't listen to what people's perspectives are of what you're doing. And the reason you can't listen is because they're judging your position and everything based on their perspective of what they would do, not what you are able to do. And there's a big difference, because what's too much for some people is not too much for others. And I think that's really important, not just in filmmaking, but just in life, that we don't stop ourselves being the best version of ourselves because of what other people tell us we can and can't do. This, for me, is really important, because it's like, who told me I could DOP the film?
Yeah, probably no one, right?
Nobody told me I could DOP the film.
I bet no one. Maybe Chloe, maybe.
But nobody was like, oh, Leroy, you should edit it. Oh, Leroy, you should... I was just like, I just want to tell a story. So what do I need to do to tell that story? Oh, well, we definitely don't have the budget for the type of DOP I'd like to work with. So,
indeed.
Well, I need to maybe learn about that. And I'm so thankful that I went through a lot of these processes, because as an editor, I was able to learn a lot about how to construct a scene
indeed
beyond what was written. So like the deconstruction of the scene and killing your baby, as much as a weird process as I'm a bit psychotic with it, I love cutting stuff out.
Right.
Like I developed a bit of an OCD. Where can I cut? How can I cut more? You know, because the thing is like, it's like there's 3 types of films you make. The one you write, you make the one that you end up shooting, and then the one you edit. You know, there's 3 versions of the film. Yeah. Now it's about, each version has got its own process, but when you're in those processes, your mindset does have to shift, because each one requires a different energy. Like one, you're on your own when you're writing it. One, you're around lots of people when you're shooting it.
Or in your case, just 4, but yes.
yeah, just 4. And then when you're editing, you know, you're either with a team or like myself through 2020, it was just me in the room and the machine, just having it out.
Plugging it away, just going for it. Do you know what? I love what you just said. I think it's inspiring as hell and so important for so many filmmakers out there who are going, oh, why is Netflix not getting back to me about my series? Why is no one? Well, here's a perfect example. Go learn to do it yourself. And I'm not saying everyone can do that, and I know how difficult it is, but Leroy's just done that, and he's produced an amazing film with Chloe here that's ridiculously inspiring. When you see it, you'll realize and you go, oh wow, okay, they did that. And that's something no one will ever be able to take away from either of you. The fact that you've done that and you've gone, yeah, we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to do it. And let's just get on with it. And I always say this about the editing side. You learn so much about you as a director when you see the edit, when you're sat in the edit going, oh, I didn't get him to finish the scene. I said to cut too early. Or I haven't got an out here. I haven't got a hand. I haven't got a close-up of the thing I need to tell the story. In your case, you could probably go, hey, maybe we'll go pick that up. Maybe because it's a small amount of you can maybe do that in your own house, or find somewhere maybe you could do it. But most of the time you can't do that. It's really difficult. So as a director, you've got to understand your edit. The more short films you do to learn how to edit is vital. I'm so glad I did it. Definitely made me a better director, for sure.
The good thing was because I knew I was doing the cinematography before we shot. So a lot of the composition, I storyboarded virtually, I'd say 90+% of the film.
Wow. Okay.
So I drew frame for frame the vibe of the film. So, part of my OCD is that, like, I don't like to look at shot lists when I shoot, because I need to have the vision of what I see in my mind to the point of where I just turn up, talk with the cast, and then start shooting it. Because it's the way I test myself. Like, there's times where I'll maybe have a little gander at it, but ultimately, like, I need to know the flow, because when I know the flow, it allows me freedom to cut stuff on the fly as we're shooting it. So there was days where we were able to reverse engineer some of the scene. We didn't have to finish at this point, because we could finish it at this point, pick that point up a day or two later, and then go back to where we were. Because a lot of it is about energy, and sometimes the cast, because of the night shoots and that, the energy was up or it was down or it was left or right. So it's a case of being able to play with that. And by being that editor mindset with the composition already in my mind, it made it so much more like fluid to be able to construct new ideas on the fly.
Yes, absolutely. And because you knew the project so well, you'd written the script, you knew it inside out, you'd storyboarded, like you say, 90% or more. So by the time you come to shoot it, you're like, I know this film. Let's see what the actors do and bring something new. Oh, and this shot's nicer now. As long as you're getting your coverage, that's totally fine. And I love to be free on the day. And it's so important to know the crap out of your film and prep it beyond its life. But when you come on the day to shoot it, be free and go, I could always revert back to what I was going to do, but hey, this is better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because like what I also like work doing with my actors as well is like, I like to just see what they're doing. I don't actually really want to say too much. Like I try to not direct at all for the first like initial rehearsal or something, because I want to see what
they've brought. They've spent time practicing and learning it in their rooms, going through what they want to bring. And you've got to let them show that, before going, I want it this way first. I totally agree with that. Yeah. What have you brought me? Show me what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like one of the magical things, especially with cast, when you've got people there, is that I have an idea of what I see in these characters. Obviously, you've wrote them, you've lived closely with them.
Yeah.
But it's now like it's up to the chosen person you've cast for the role to really bring to life the essence of that character, and even deeper than you even saw. Because I love to be surprised by what people do with the work. If there's something that I'd see that maybe be more like, she comes in and she walks over there, or he walks over there, I see that. Okay, they come in and they do, okay, well, I thought that maybe we'd do this moment first. And you know what? I love that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. That's like the magic of it.
It's magical, isn't it? When you're in that moment with your actors and you've set up the lights and you've maybe put a bit of smoke in the room, whatever, and you've got this, everything feels alive. So you can't take that away. You're about to put something on camera that could last forever. People are going to watch this. That's amazing. It's like, you can't bottle it. If you could, you'd sell it around the world, because everything's alive. Everyone's synapses are working. Everyone's so excited. It's like, let's get this the best it can be. I love those moments. And Chloe, for you during this time on set, how was this period? Because like you say, there's not many of you. You're making food, you're organising everything. Talk us through the logistics, because you said 14 locations. Talk us through planning, a micro budget indie film at this level when there is very few of you and it's just you guys making it.
It was tough. I'll say it's tough. I think the experience with doing live events helped massively, because it's very similar, but probably a little bit more stressful, where, you're planning something massive over the course of maybe 3 or 4 months that then all has to happen live at a certain time. And if it doesn't, then it's fucked, basically. Yeah. So that kind of element of planning and budgeting and scheduling is kind of the experience that I've got from that. I think if I hadn't have had that, I probably found it quite daunting. But at the point of doing this film, I hadn't learn or use Movie Magic. So it was pretty much all Excel that I was doing. But I just went through the script, we started looking at all the locations, we scouted every location together, started booking them all. Pretty much everything was shot in Kent. And then obviously I managed the cast, their availability. Obviously being lower budget, we had to keep like jiggling and jaggling around with people's availability, and but also trying to maximize location, so we're not, jumping around and spending other days in there we didn't need to. The house was probably the toughest. We were in there for a month, living, breathing the film, literally 24/7.
So you lived there at the same time?
Yeah.
Right, so you moved in, if you like.
So we moved in.
That's tough. Yeah, to not come home, to not have that little moment. Right,
just
okay. Just have a breather. Yeah, but and was everyone else living there? I say everyone else.
No, so it was obviously me and Leroy. So we moved in. We had a couple of days to set dress the entire house, didn't we? So we booked it for a month. We shot pretty much every day apart from 2 days.
Wow.
Then who plays Lucy moved in because she lives in Bath. So rather than her travel backwards and forwards, she's in pretty much every scene. She had a room. But it was pretty much us three. And then some of the other cast for the longer days would stay. If it was a super late night shoot, they would stay, because it was, 4 or 5 bedroom house. So there was the option there for that, rather than them drive home at like 6 a.m, which is,
and then to come back early.
But that was hard. I'm not going to lie, that was difficult. I mean, Leroy is very much nocturnal. I had to get adjusted to nocturnal life, which was really difficult.
Which is incidentally the name of your production company. Nocturnal.
So I think I passed the test. I think I'm now nocturnal. But that was difficult because, I was, on average, we were finishing at like 5 or 6. I was doing the DITting, so I was a DIT.
You were DITing as well.
So everyone finished and I was backing up all the bloody footage onto hard drives, and then
hopefully doing it right as well. That fear, honestly, it's frightening doing DIT
when you've got a Leroy behind you going, where?
I'm not going to lie, I did have a couple of wind-ups. I was like, are you really sure you've backed this up?
You did? Oh no,
I'm just about to delete.
Yeah, I'm about to press delete. No, I just let me check again.
Let me check.
But I know it sounds a bit silly, and it's a bit like, should we say, a bit terrifying.
It was.
I did do it on purpose though, because I just wanted to make sure that whatever we were doing, we were keeping on top of. The information that we've recorded, because to manage the terabytes of data in 4K, oh my God, like you get one shot. If you delete, you're gone, and it's like a whole day.
Yeah.
So so to try and make light of it, I tried to make a joke, but actually, I was
looking back now.
It's funny
It's
now.
not funny. Yeah.
But I was doing that, and then trying to it's not filming the nights that I found hard. It was trying to sleep in the day, which I find really difficult because you've got the adrenaline and the stress of everything. So then I would get up from before everybody else, start prepping food, cooking food, getting all the props ready. I was also doing wardrobes, I'd get everyone's clothes ready.
And set dressing, the new set dress that you said you're doing. So you're literally doing everything.
Yeah. It was hard.
As much as that gives you a certain control, which, we all want as creatives, we can't help it. We like that. If you could, would you have, looking back, would you have had more people? Would you have what you've learned? Because obviously, of course, you go, yes, of course, I'd like that person, of course. But actually looking back on what you've learned, are you glad you did that?
I 100% glad we did it the way we did it because, it's our first film. It was a low budget. If we'd had other people, it might have made things easier. But I think what we learned and the control we had over things, and it was such a small team anyway. It was, it sounds harder than it was. It was a lot to deal with, but it wasn't it wasn't extremely difficult. I don't know if it's just because of what I'm used to dealing with.
Yeah, I think it definitely has helped. You doing production management and other and doing event work is hugely stressful and big events. So I definitely think it helped you, but it's still a different mindset, isn't it? It's your baby. It's your film now. It's very different.
And I think that the hardest thing I found was just the lack of sleep, probably. And shooting nights for such a long time in a row, trying to remember doing everything was tough. But I think we wouldn't obviously want to do it like that again, but I think we wouldn't say no if we had to, would we? If it was depending on the project.
No, definitely not.
maybe catering. I don't want to do that ever bloody again.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
get catering.
that's no fun because people just complain anyway. You know what I mean? It's so hard to do catering. And when we made Serial Killer's Guide to Life, we did have many more crew, but we were, people were doing everything. I was cleaning out the toilets of the RV. You were doing whatever it was to make sure that life for everyone else was okay. And I think as an indie film producer, you do get the rough end of the stick. It is literally like, well, who else is going to do it? And you forget you're the boss. You're the person who has to do that or ask someone else to do it. But if you think, well, if I wouldn't do the toilets, then why should I ask someone else to do it? What have you learned taking forward then, Chloe, for your next one as producer on that kind of, obviously you're going to hopefully upscale, but who knows? But it'd be interesting to know.
I'd probably say the biggest thing I have learned is to be patient. I'm probably the most impatient person. I've learned so much through the back end of, delivering and sales and distribution. That's been very tough. Yeah, I'd probably say that's probably the most that I've learned is to be patient and to trust in your process and what you're doing. Because there was a lot of times where I was like, oh God, is this really going to work out? Are we going to find the right home for the film? Is it going to get to the right person? We had obviously big expectations for it, and obviously all the setbacks we had, with Leroy's arm, the camera, we had COVID during post and loads of things, and it was like it all ended up working out for the better. So I think you just got to really trust the process, and you can do it. If I can do it with absolutely no experience in film, other producers can do it. You just got to really trust what you're doing, believe in what you're doing, and definitely believe in the vision of your director, because that's one thing I didn't need to worry about. I mean, if I was doing this with someone else, I'd probably have struggled with really trusting that and the vision that they have. But because I know Leroy, I know how he works, I know how obsessive and anal he can be with certain things. That's why the film's turned out looking as good as it looks, because I've trusted him to let him do that, and I've taken care of the other stuff. So
everything else for him.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest stuff that I've learned from there.
Amazing. Let's come back to sales and distribution in a minute. Leroy, the same question to you then, in that sense of what have you taken away? What have you learned going forward to your next film? Because I know you guys are going to make another film. So let's talk about that.
I've learned just to trust in the process. Like, there's no magic. Like, everyone's looking for shortcuts. Like, get ripped quick in 20 minutes. Do this, do that. All of a sudden, fast track your filmmaking. There's no fast track. There's not a fast track. Like, I think that's, for me, the biggest thing that I can take away is that if I can see it as a director and have a vision for something, then I know it's achievable, because everything that I saw when I was in Colombia with the idea, I trusted that. I don't know why I trusted it. I just trusted it. I'm someone who believes very much you have to trust intuition and not thought process of the mind, because the mind lies, whereas your intuitive factors take you towards your essence, right? So we're going a bit spiritual now, but I'm quite into mindset and believe very much that we have virtually every ability that we ever need to do what we need to do, but we have to sift through a lot of the conditioning that teaches us to not do stuff that we believe we can do. So for me, it was like reaffirming more so. I knew I could vibe the cinematography. I didn't know how. I just felt that I knew that I could do it. And when we first done the lighting test in there, the footage that we got is nothing like the footage that we shot.
Right.
So whatever happened in a process of, fight or flight, by trusting in your ability to do a task, it allows you to ascend further. So I would say the biggest thing I can take away from the whole process was just, and for anybody else that's ever doubting themselves, because we're, as people, we're always doubting our ability to do a said task, is to not make it any more complicated, because the world is going to do enough of that for you. If you can get out of your own way and allow the room and in your lane, and your lane is important to remember, because what some do doesn't mean everybody's going to be able to do what they do. But what you've got to look at is, what can you do? What is your thing? How can you be the best version of that for you in your process? Because I understand, not everybody's going to have an issue with budget. Some people might just go, oh my God, I've got 500 grand. Let's just go and make a film, and they throw people at it.
They'll have other issues then.
Yeah, yes. Our process was, we didn't have that opportunity. We just had a little bit, we just put that in. But then again, there might be some people who won't even be able to do what we did. So then they're going to have to go, oh, I've only got an iPhone. But it's about, okay, every new level brings a new devil. But how do we work this level and then take the next step and then the next step? So for me, ultimately, The Last Rite was a beautiful process of learning about story, learning about, working under pressure in a small space, and ultimately just trusting the process that's going to take you through hell. It's going to fucking test you like fuck. But if you hold on and keep in mind also, and this is for anybody that maybe might get something from it, is keep in mind when you first started on the journey, when you had the idea and it becomes exciting, because it's almost like hearing a joke 1,000 times, after the first and the second and third time, it gets a bit boring. And after the 10th time, you're like, oh my God, already, shut up. And the thing is just to remember that vision that you started in the very, 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 very start, because of the days test you. You have a bad day on set because logistics don't work, this and that. One or two of our days got rained on, so we could release. Just
one or two? Unlucky.
Yeah, we got quite lucky. But we had to move stuff around, and you can always look at the problem. But I feel like rather than look at the problem as a problem, find the solution and be the solution that ultimately resolves it.
Very nice. Well, let's talk about distribution then, sales and distribution, because what is a success story here is, you have, got it with Samuel Goldwyn Films. It's huge. It's just wonderful. Talk us through this. You said there you had to learn a lot. It was difficult, your process there, Chloe, of that, and learning massively on the way, and being frightened of, we all hear about these predatory distributors, and it's a lot. It's a lot for us as filmmakers. And you go, I don't know the answer. When someone goes, I want your film, here's a contract. You go, Jesus, look at that. Oh my God. And you feel out your depth. You go, you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to be ripped off. But at the same time, you've got to learn it, and learn it quick. How was your process with that? How did you manage to do it?
Oh God,
scream, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot of screams and tears and like, shit, what's going on? Yeah, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, I found out the hardest part, mainly because, like you say, trusting people, knowing who's the best to go with. And yeah, you're learning stuff. Like, you don't really know how, I didn't really know how it went. I've read books on producing, I've read books on sales and distribution, listened to amazing podcasts, and you get some, tips and tricks and things, but I mean, it's down to you at the end of the day. So yeah, we finished the film, and then we started contacting sales agents, and we started sales agents and some distribution companies at the same time.
This is when it's completed. Are you sending out?
Yeah. Well, we thought it was completed, didn't we? And then we kind of went back in and did some.
Fine, but that's okay to do that as long as it's a completed. This could go out if we wanted to. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So we started that process, and probably like everybody else, got lots of no's, and it's like, oh God, is anyone going to take film?
Well, at that point, you suddenly think, is my film any good? It's this weird process of, you've got a good film, but then suddenly everyone says no, and you're like, what? But it's just because it's not right for them at the time, or it's in the wrong wheelhouse, or they've got a film just like it, but they don't tell you that. No. They just say no or ignore you.
You go through this like weird process of, oh my, like you say, you sort of like, is it good? We've seen it so much. Is it still good? Is it still a horror film, or is it not? And we went through this weird thing for like a year almost. It took a long time. And then obviously I was
just going to say, like, just on the back of that, like, one of the biggest things that we encountered, I'd say it was last year, around September to November, because we just had like a few no's, like, which were like some of the last no's that we ultimately didn't want to hear, because we was like, fuck, does this actually mean that like our movie is not where we thought it was going to go in terms of execution value, in terms of story, in terms of this and that? And then there's this weird little thing that goes on when you I guess you could say it's like riding on a hill, going down the hill, going really fast. You're like, well, you're enjoying it. And then you reach the flat road, and the flat road is about 5 miles, 20 miles long. At that point, what I said about being earlier about keeping in tune with the vision when you first had it, this is where that long-time telling joke becomes to wear thin, and you have to revert back to how you first heard it, because if you don't, you could be in serious danger of unraveling a lot of elements of your story. You could rehash the story. You could be doing all sorts of things to try and please where you feel it should be going. But ultimately your essence and your inside is going, no, I remember this first feeling when I first had it, and it was amazing. You've got to keep hold of that. Yeah, because we was at a point, and I remember this very well, where I'd cut, and I'm very glad that I'd cut bits. And I said earlier on, like, I love killing the baby. I love going in and removing scenes. We removed several scenes, and it got to the point where I was like, at this point, I am no longer going to cut. If nobody likes it, fuck them. I don't give a fuck.
You're happy with the film as is. I'm going to put it out myself.
This is where it's going to be. And if people don't vibe it, I don't give a fuck. It's going to be where it's going to be, and that's it. But again, out of darkness comes some light. This was one of those things where we'd heard a lot of no's, and we was like, unsure. And then out of nowhere, we'd attracted a sales agent, which was cool. Like that opened up some potential for connecting to other people. And then that had a bit of its own process. And then we were waiting, and then we're like, oh my God.
It was so slow.
Unless it's leading up to a festival where soon they're like, we need an answer now. Most of the time they're really slow.
And I'm like the opposite. I'm so overly obsessively efficient. That probably gets on people's nerves, but it's like, fucking hell, hurry up. Just like...
That's a good thing as a producer. And they are slow. Yeah. So you're at that place now, Chloe. What did you do next? You just suddenly had a bit of a yes. What was the process for you to get it over the line?
Yeah, so obviously we cut a good chunk out, and obviously we started getting some really good feedback after we'd done that, which I think helped the film massively. So we signed with our sales agent. We sort of went through the contracts. We did get a lawyer involved for that, because I sort of, this was territory I was not quite familiar with.
Good.
I mean, I knew what was good, I knew what was bad, but, when you're reading these contracts, there's certain things in there that just, I have no idea what they mean.
There's a lot of gobbledygook. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that unless you know this shit, it can bite you in the bum, there's just too much.
And it's written in a way that makes absolutely no sense. So any filmmakers don't scrimp on that stuff, because that can really fuck you up down the line.
Well, it's very important to spend some time learning it yourself, but also bringing a lawyer in just for that extra little bit at that point.
Yeah. Just to check over. I mean, it's not cheap, but you got that sense of, I mean, our lawyer just went over it like crazy, and we were happy with what we had back. We signed with them, and then it was I think it was just before EFM, so that was our first market. And obviously then we started the horrendous process of deliverables, which was another
if you're doing it on your own, it is the worst.
It's so
really
hard,
the worst, and it's so annoying. There's certain things in there you're like, you don't need it in Dutch.
You don't need a HD cam bloody
thing, and
480p version.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, you don't need a 480p version. Stop it. No. I know. It's in case we do cut downs for it. And you're like, no, but the effort I've got to do, I'll do those cut downs for you. It's easier for me to do them, deliver it in all these things.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to do it, and especially if you sign the contract, and this is something as well that's important, is if you're signing the contract for a sales agent and you now don't deliver on those things that is in their contract that you have to deliver on, well, they don't have to pay you. It's really important. They take out all sorts of money. So you've got to make sure that contract, you can deliver on what it says. That's vital.
Yeah, and I just think I'm someone that asks for everything from everybody, and I will always ask, because you're only going to get a no. Like, I've done it throughout, everything. Try and negotiate everything. Try and see what you can get. Like, it's the same with this. Although I didn't know 100%, all the ins and outs, I negotiated quite a lot. And I took stuff out, and there was things I brought down, like, the marketing caps, all that kind of stuff, it's just nonsense, half of it. And, you could really get, in the shit with certain things if you don't pay attention to it, because there's so many little pools of money that can just dissipate before you see anything. Yes. We did all the deliverables. I mean, we're still doing some now, depending on so that's one thing I learned, which was, there's certain lists of deliverables with your sales agent, but then that almost becomes redundant when you start obviously delivering to the distributors in different territories, because their lists and their requirements are different. So it's kind of never ending until you kind of finish all your territories. So then it went to the markets, and we kind of just, spent the whole of this year just, chasing and chasing and more chasing. But it's done really well, which is amazing. We've got Samuel Goldwyn, obviously, with the US. Now that is something that was super unexpected, wasn't it? And something that my whole kind of trust the process and be patient is exactly what that comes to, because we had other offers for the US, but they weren't as good. And then we were getting went through a whole stage of getting no's, and we were like, oh my God, the whole of America doesn't want to film, and we could have settled with like a not very good deal and a different distributor. And you could so easily just be like, everyone's saying no, it's no good, we're just going to take that. And if we had, we would never have got Samuel Goldwyn.
That we're coming back to what I was saying again not so long ago, is like trusting that process.
That was difficult.
It's like so important, because you will sail your boat up the river, which is your film, for any offer, because anybody coming out the woodwork sounds like a fucking good deal, right? Because you've had so many no's.
And you've put yourself through all that pain of getting a film made and deliverable, ready to be delivered. You're like, please take it, please like me at that point. But actually, this is when you're at your most valuable, because you've got an asset, here.
But you're also at your most vulnerable when you've heard so many no's.
Yes, and you are.
The things you say no to in life are just as important as the things you say yes to. So I'm a big advocate for, sometimes if it doesn't match what I see as a vision for what I want to fucking do, I don't give a fuck what people think. Fuck you. It's going to go this way or that way.
Yeah.
Because, I'm probably, out of the two of us, I'm a bit more of a Trojan horse with things. I have to let Chloe deal with certain things, because my approach is very direct.
Very much fuck you. I'd love to say fuck you, but
thank you very much, but we will not be accepting your offer.
It's like, what the fuck is that? No, I ain't doing that shit. Fuck that. But it's like, I'm not like that direct, but I can be. But the key is like, when you're vulnerable, because just before Samuel Goldwyn,
which is an offshoot of MGM, by the way, for everyone.
Yes, they're amazing.
Just before them, like, we had probably got to the stage where we was like, do we maybe accept the fact that our film just isn't what we felt it was going to be or do, because we don't have a cast member in it, being one of the biggest things I think that affected the Nose. It was, they were like, oh, it's great, it's this, but in our territory, it was all about the cast.
They want names, or a name-ish, a horror name-ish, but there's not many of them. So, yeah, it's excuses sometimes, yeah.
I think that's what it was. And we'd got to the stage where it was just like, well, we'll hold on a bit longer and see. And then, you've got a deal, Samuel Goldwyn. I'm like...
I love it.
And it's really weird because at first, it didn't register with me who that was.
Yeah, you were just like, is there someone stolen a name or something? Yeah. Another company name, sure.
And I remember this one night, right? We sat on the deal. We was like, having a little vibe through it. Like, okay, it doesn't seem too bad and whatever. And I said to my nan, I was like, oh, Nan, by the way, we've got this offer for this company in America. I think we're going to go with it. It's this company called Samuel Goldwyn. And she's like, my nan...
What, they Samuel Goldwyn?
It's exactly what she said. She's like, what, you mean Metro Goldwyn Mayer?
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, Metro Goldwyn MGM. I'm like, oh, I don't think so. Like, literally, it's how Jay did.
Yeah, because you were like, it can't be. Yeah, it's too big. It's too, yeah, absolutely. But look, The Last Rite, I loved it. Like I say, an incredible achievement. It's amazing what you've done. It's inspiration for everyone out there to go and do. You can do it. You can do it. Don't be afraid. It's out in the US now, and it'll be out in the UK very soon. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on. It's honestly been incredible. Really, really, really insightful. And I've loved listening to your story as well. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's been great, man. Loved it.
I love this podcast. I listen to it all the time. That's like I literally do. And when I'm doing deliverables and contracts, I'm like, right, I'm going to make a podcast.
Let's get some inspiration. Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Where can people find you on the socials? Have you got a website? I think you've got a website for The Last Rite, haven't you?
Yeah. So the Last Rite website is thelastRitemovie.com. And The Last Rite is on Instagram, which is at The Last Rite Movie as well. They're our main two. And we're on Twitter as well, which is The Last Rite Film.
Perfect. So go follow them there. Links to that will be in the show notes. Do go follow, do go support. It's so important that you support indie film. Even if you can't afford to buy the film, if you can't watch it, but you can support by tweeting or saying thank you so much for giving your time up to talk about how you made your film. That gives inspiration to you. So that's the least you can do. So please do support indie filmmakers. It's vital we all stick together and do this, because we can do it together. We can get to the top, and then we'll be studios, and then the indie filmmakers will hate us. Yes. We should own distribution companies. That's what we should do. Sales and distribution. That's what we should do. That's the next step. Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Remember, you can go out there and make your indie film, but remember who your audience is. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. We will see you next Tuesday, as always. Chloe, thank you.
Thank you, Giles.
Leroy, thank you.
And thank you kindly for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.